The afternoon sun casts long shadows across a crowded grocery store parking lot as people load bags into their cars. A gentle breeze rustles through the flags near the entrance, one of which proudly bears the stars and stripes. In the midst of this ordinary scene, a man in a wheelchair slowly maneuvers his way toward a silver van parked in a handicap space. He wears a faded green jacket adorned with military patches and a cap embroidered with the word Navy. His hands tremble slightly as he reaches for the ramp switch, struggling with the small control remote attached to his chair. Nearby, a police cruiser pulls up, its engine humming quietly. A young officer, fresh out of training and eager to prove himself, steps out with a sense of authority. His eyes scan the scene and land on the man in the wheelchair. Without taking a closer look, he notices the handicap placard swinging from the rearview mirror but assumes it might not belong to the man. His mind races with assumptions, another case of someone pretending to be disabled to get convenient parking. He adjusts his belt, squares his shoulders, and walks briskly toward the man. The veteran looks up, slightly startled as the officer's shadow falls over him. "Sir, is this your vehicle?" the officer demands, his tone sharp and skeptical. The man nods, trying to explain, "Yes, officer." But before he can finish, the officer cuts him off. "I'll need to see your ID and registration right now." The veteran gestures toward the van, explaining softly that his wallet is inside. His voice is calm, but his hands shake as he tries to reach for the door control. The officer misreads his hesitation as defiance. Around them, a few bystanders begin to slow down, sensing tension. The officer's voice rises, filled with frustration and suspicion. "I said show me your ID." The man's breathing quickens, his words come out unevenly. "Please, officer, I'm a veteran. I just need a second." The officer's pulse quickens as his training kicks in, not the part about de-escalation, but the instinct to maintain control. He steps closer, his hand now resting on his taser. The veteran's eyes widen, realizing the situation is spiraling. He raises his hands slowly, palms out, in a gesture of peace. The moment hangs heavy in the air, silent except for the distant rumble of shopping carts and car doors closing. The tension is thick, fragile, and dangerous. The officer's eyes flick to the veteran's pocket, mistaking a simple hand movement as a threat. The scene teeters on the edge of tragedy, just seconds away from an irreversible mistake that will change both of their lives forever. The tension explodes in an instant. The officer, adrenaline surging through his veins, shouts, "Stop reaching." The man in the wheelchair freezes, confusion flashing across his face. His lips part to say something, "I'm just," but before the sentence leaves his mouth, the sharp electric crack of the taser cuts through the afternoon air. The sound is sudden, violent, and final. Two thin wires shoot forward, striking the man squarely in the chest. His body jerks violently, hands clutching the arms of his wheelchair as pain rips through him. The bystanders gasp in horror. A woman screams, dropping her grocery bag, apples roll across the pavement. A teenager pulls out his phone, recording in disbelief. The veteran's wheelchair trembles slightly from the impact, the metal creaking as his body convulses. His eyes roll back for a second, his breathing shallow and strained. The taser clicks again before the officer realizes what he's done. The man slumps forward, one of his medals glinting in the sunlight, reflecting light directly onto the officer's stunned face. For a brief, frozen moment, silence swallows the parking lot. The officer's arm lowers slowly, taser still in hand, his mouth slightly open as he stares at the motionless man. He expected resistance, defiance, anything but this. His mind races, trying to justify his actions. He reached, he didn't comply, he mutters under his breath, as if repeating a mantra to himself. But deep down, something feels horribly wrong. People begin to rush forward. "Call an ambulance," someone yells. Another voice, trembling with anger, shouts, "You just tossed a man in a wheelchair." The officer snaps out of his daze and fumbles for his radio, his hands shaking now. Dispatch, I need EMS at the Oakwood Market parking lot. Suspect, male, mid-50s, non-responsive after taser deployment. His voice cracks mid-sentence. The word suspect tastes bitter as it leaves his tongue. The man's dog tags, previously hidden under his jacket, slide out and rest against his chest. The light catches them again, engraved with a name and military rank that would have told anyone who he truly was. His cap, which had fallen to the ground during the shock, lies upside down near the officer's boot, the word Navy embroidered boldly across it. The first sirens wail in the distance, growing louder by the second. The officer looks down at the man, his expression now a mix of fear, regret, and disbelief. Around him, the crowd grows, phones recording every second. The truth of what just happened begins to set in, not only for the officer, but for everyone watching. A hero has been struck down by the very system he once defended. The sharp wail of approaching sirens grows louder, echoing across the parking lot as flashing red and blue lights flood the scene. A crowd has gathered now, a circle of onlookers standing in uneasy silence, phones raised, eyes wide. The man in the wheelchair lies slumped forward, chest rising faintly with each shallow breath. His dog tags rest on his jacket, catching the light every time the ambulance strobes pass over them. The air is thick with tension and guilt. The officer stands motionless, taser still dangling loosely from his hand, his heart pounding as realization starts to creep in. The ambulance doors burst open. 2 paramedics rush out, wheeling a stretcher toward the fallen man. One kneels beside him, checking for a pulse. The other gently moves the man's jacket aside to attach monitoring pads, and freezes. There, neatly pinned on the inner lining of the jacket, are several medals, the Navy Cross, the Bronze Star, and a Purple Heart. The paramedic's eyes widen in shock. He leans closer, reading the name on the dog tags. Commander Marcus Tate, he murmurs, almost to himself. Oh my God, this guy's a SEAL. The words hit the officer like a punch to the chest. He blinks, trying to process what he just heard. SEAL? You mean, the paramedic looks up sharply. Yes. Commander Tate. He's a decorated war hero. Lost his legs in combat saving his team. The murmurs ripple through the crowd instantly. People begin whispering, disbelief spreading like wildfire. The officer's throat goes dry, his breath shallow. The name echoes in his head, Commander Tate. He remembers hearing it once in the news, years ago, about a Navy SEAL who survived a deadly ambush overseas. One of the bystanders steps forward, phone still recording, voice trembling with anger. You tossed him? A war hero? The officer doesn't respond. His eyes are locked on the veteran's still body as the medics work frantically, applying oxygen and checking vitals. Every beep from the medical monitor pierces his chest. His knees feel weak, guilt replaces the adrenaline that once fueled him. A senior police sergeant arrives, pushing through the crowd. What happened here? He demands. The young officer tries to speak, but words won't come out. He only manages a broken sentence. I thought, he wasn't complying, I didn't know. The sergeant's expression darkens as he looks toward the medics and then back at the rookie. The weight of the mistake hangs heavily between them. As the paramedics lift Commander Tate onto the stretcher, his limp hand brushes against his cap lying on the ground. The officer bends down instinctively, picking it up. He turns it over in his hands, reading the embroidered word, Navy, as if seeing it for the first time. The hum of the ambulance intensifies as the doors close, leaving behind a parking lot filled with silence, shame, and the faint echo of a truth that will soon spread far beyond this place. The hum of fluorescent lights fills the quiet hospital hallway as the scene shifts from chaos to consequence. Hours have passed since the incident, but the air remains heavy with tension. The young officer stands alone outside the emergency room, his uniform wrinkled, eyes red from tears he refuses to shed. His taser has been confiscated, and his body camera footage is already under review. He runs a trembling hand through his hair, staring at the floor tiles that seem to stretch endlessly before him. Every sound, the squeak of shoes, the beep of heart monitors, the distant murmur of doctors, feels like a reminder of his mistake. Inside the room, Commander Marcus Tate lies in a hospital bed, still weak but awake. His face is pale, and his body bears the toll of both physical and emotional pain. Yet his eyes remain calm, almost too calm for a man who has just been betrayed by the very system he once defended. A nurse adjusts his four, and the rhythmic sound of the heart monitor gives the only sign of life in the sterile, white room. On the nightstand beside him lies his navy cap, neatly folded, next to a photo of his SEAL team from years ago. The officer hesitates at the doorway, clutching his hat in his hands. His superior, a seasoned sergeant, gives him a silent nod, signaling that he may enter. Each step feels heavier than the last. He stops beside the bed, unable to meet Tate's eyes at first. "Sir. I didn't know," he begins, his voice low and cracked. "I thought you were reaching for something. I was wrong." The words hang in the air, raw and fragile. Commander Tate studies him quietly, the weight of experience in his gaze. "You thought," he repeats softly, his tone not angry, but disappointed. "That's the problem. You didn't see me, son. You saw a threat." The officer's chest tightens. His eyes brim with tears as he finally looks up, meeting the calm but piercing stare of the man he hurt. "I don't have an excuse," he whispers. I panicked." For a long moment, neither speaks. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor fills the silence, steady and unforgiving. Then Tate exhales slowly, his expression softening. "You've got a long road ahead," he says finally. "But if you learn from this, maybe it won't be for nothing." The officer nods, tears streaming freely now. He sets the cap gently back on the bedside table before stepping out of the room. As the door closes behind him, the sergeant places a hand on his shoulder. "You made a mistake," he says quietly. "Now make it right." The young officer looks back through the small glass window, watching the veteran rest peacefully. The guilt will stay with him, but so will the lesson. Morning light filters through the hospital blinds, illuminating a room now filled with cameras, reporters, and quiet anticipation. A press conference has been arranged. The story has gone viral overnight, millions of views, countless headlines, and an uproar of anger and heartbreak. Across social media, the image of the man in a wheelchair lying helpless after being tossed has ignited outrage, but also a deeper conversation about prejudice, misunderstanding, and accountability. Commander Marcus Tate sits upright in his wheelchair, wearing a clean navy blue jacket. His medals have been returned to him, gleaming faintly under the fluorescent lights. His face still shows signs of exhaustion, but his posture radiates calm authority, the quiet strength of a man who's faced far worse. Reporters shuffle in front of him, microphones pointed, cameras flashing, waiting for his statement. Next to him stands the young officer, no longer in uniform but in a plain white shirt, his expression heavy and humbled. The contrast between them, the wounded veteran and the remorseful cop, speaks louder than any headline. The room settles as Tate clears his throat. His voice, though soft, carries weight. "What happened to me should never happen to anyone," he begins. "But I'm not here today to condemn. I'm here to remind everyone that fear and misunderstanding can turn good people into enemies." He pauses, glancing toward the officer beside him, who looks down at the floor. This young man made a mistake. And yes, it hurt. But I've been in battles where men had to learn quickly, sometimes painfully, that courage isn't just about pulling a trigger. It's about facing your failures and growing from them. The audience is silent. Reporters stop typing for a moment, moved by his tone. The officer, swallowing hard, steps forward. "I can't take back what I did," he says quietly, voice trembling. But I want to spend my career making sure it doesn't happen again, not to anyone. Tate turns toward him, studies his face for a moment, then slowly extends his hand. The gesture catches everyone off guard. The officer hesitates, then grasps it firmly. The cameras flash instantly, capturing the handshake that will dominate headlines by evening. It isn't staged or forced, it's real. In that moment, forgiveness feels more powerful than judgment. The crowd breaks into soft applause, and even the officer's superior wipes his eyes discreetly. Tate finishes with one final sentence, looking directly at the cameras: respect isn't earned by power. It's earned by humanity. His words echo long after the microphones are turned off. The image of the handshake spreads worldwide, two men, one scarred by war and the other by regret, united in understanding. A tragic mistake becomes a lesson in compassion, proving that even in moments of pain, healing and redemption are possible.